Welcome to CXO, a magical podcast to help you serve better and concoct experiences that are superlative in nature. I'm your host, Supriya Sharma, bringing to you in each episode didactic nuggets so you can get inspired to sprinkle stardust in your company, your home, and the community on the whole.
We are so glad to have on our show CXO today, Jan Uriga, who's joining us from Prague, Czech Republic. Jan is an astute strategist with forte in change management, culture transformation, innovation, and customer experience. He lectures at Vienna University and HR Academy at Faculty of Social and Economic Sciences in Bratislava. Welcome to our show, Jan.
Thank you very much for the intro and thank you for having me.
Jan, take us through where we stand in terms of CX today in the industry and where we are going. Where is this entire concept of customer experience going in the near future?
I'm very happy to be the witness of really the revolution in terms of the CX or the customer experience. Because in the region where I operate, which is basically Central and the East Europe, the companies were historically focused on product and on the quality and on the price. And today, the more and more people are awakening their needs, and those needs correspondent with the care, with the experience, and with the things that are connected to the product. And the CX function in every company is reflecting this reality. And I'm more than happy to, again, to repeat that I'm the witness of the revolution, because every smart company today is using the CX as the one of the core functions. And I believe that today, maybe in maturity level, we are on the level from 0 to 5, maybe we are on 2 or 1.5.
Oh, that's a pretty low score.
It is very low because the processes and the systems behind are not that natural that they used to be. But the companies are gearing down and they are adopting the new things very, very fast. So I'm not afraid that if you have the call in 6 months from now, I will be telling you, Supriya, we are on 3.5. And this is maybe my vision toward the future, that companies will adopt those principles very fast and in very high quality.
It's very interesting. You gave a really low score of 1.5, and then within 6 months, you also gave me the vision that if we might have another call, you would tell me that it would be somewhere around 3 or 3.5, which is a huge increase. And that's a real positive outlook, which makes me think that companies are really working towards improving the CX, or they're wanting to improve the customer experience they are providing to their customers. But as a company, if I want to do that, where do I start, first of all? Rather, I should ask you this. How do I know whether I need to improve CX or not as an organization?
First of all, the companies are opening up their doors and gates to the customers. So they're not hiding behind the high walls and fences internally in the organizations. They are welcoming the feedback of the customer and then bring the customer as the one of the core architect of the change of the company. So this is the great example of those who are really, really working very, very intimately with the customer in designing the new products and the new services. So every company who wanted to really to bring the new wind into the sales of the CX, they need to bring the customer not just theoretically, but practically into the center of their attention. And one of the examples is the customer day. I have the clients who are organizing the customer day every week. So 90 minutes, there is this session where everybody who is facing the customer, so it means that you go all over in the hierarchy, the people who are interacting with the customer every day, and they share the stories, the positives and the negatives. The second part of the meeting is talk about the data. I have my experience, I have my feeling, I have my attitude, but I have met only the 5 clients a day, but my data sheets can tell me in 1 second about the thousands of the feedbacks. So the second thing is believe into the data. And once you're making the decision, you need to be really, really sure what your data tells you. And third thing on that 90 minutes long session is, what are we going to do next week to make the customer experience better on the one side, and on the other side, how we as a company will benefit from serving our customers in a higher quality or the higher speed. So this is the one of the good examples that can also serve our listeners or watchers of this session.
Brilliant. And what interests me or fascinates me the most is the customer day, because I can relate it to the customer week, which we usually celebrate in the first week of October. But Jan, just like Father's Day and Mother's Day, we have one specific day allocated to them. How justified is it to have just 1 week allocated to a customer? I mean, you exist in big business because of a customer. Customers are a part and parcel of your business. I mean, daily you're interacting with them. You exist because of them. So how justified is it to just allocate 1 week to these customers, saying, okay, it's our customer week?
Well, that's really what occupies my mind, because sometimes I'm maybe laughing, or I'm very sarcastic about this week, one week dedicated to the customer. I think it's not enough. Like going to the gym once a month for 5 hours. And you believe that you're in shape. And you believe that once you go on the beach, you are going to be the person with the best muscles. No, you have to do your exercise every day for 20 minutes, and then you're in shape. You can just run the staircase without the deep breath. And it is exactly with the customer. So if you are really 100% convinced that the root of your business is your customer and their needs, then having the 1 day or 1 week or 1 month of the customer it's not important that much as the real conversation about the customer every minute you are in touch with them.
And there are some companies who give this argument that we have a product or a service which we sell only once in a lifetime, such as the real estate companies. A person usually buys a house not more than 3 or 4 times in a lifetime, unless you are, you come from a different economic background. That's a different thing. But otherwise, we purchase a house not that often as often we purchase cars. So those kind of products and services, the companies selling those kind of products and services, they give this argument, why should we really care about the customer loyalty and feedback? Because it's just a one-time sale for us and we are selling infrequently. It's not so often that we are selling our products and services. What do we have to say about those?
This is exactly one of the biggest misunderstanding of using the CX, especially in this one-off event, because of you have only one chance, right? So you have the one chance to satisfy your customer, and the customer is, breaking the piggy bank with your life savings and is investing into the house or car or something that is really costly. And because of making sure that customer will do the shopping or the business with us, there is something what is called the word of mouth. And the word of mouth is the biggest predictor if the customer will do the business with you or with someone else. Because if I'm investing my life savings, I'm not going to invest to the company with no name, with no reputation, or with bad reputation. And when I do these really critical decisions in my life, I always talk to my friends, to my relatives, to my colleagues, and I double check. Where did you buy your house, or where did you find your car? And they tell me, hey, go around the corner. There's the shop, and you won't be, disappointed. There's a great service. I said, all right. If a person that is a significant other for me tells me that this is a good thing, I should go there. And this is the message to the companies. If you satisfy once your customer with the high quality, I guarantee you that that person will share that experience with the others. And once this similar event happens to that person, they will return to you because you are on the top of mind of the person. So underestimation of high quality of service can bring you into the ruins. if you
Sure.
don't do that.
Sure. And then it comes to trust. I think that's what I understand from what you explained. It's all about the trust. I mean, the confidence and the benevolence that the customers place in your services and your organization. Do you think that trust can be said as the most important component in customer experience, or there is something which occupies a higher place in the hierarchy of important things in the customer experience there?
This question maybe has two angles. The one, I trust to the people who also interact with the company I interact. So the peer experience for me is as significant as my personal experience. So on the one side, there is a trust to the legacy of my friends and the colleagues, as I said before. And the second thing is the trust the company makes toward me. But the trust is not a one-way ticket. The trust is that I also make a commitment and the company makes a commitment. So the trust always needs two parts, me as a customer and the provider. And the trust is not only that the company is supposed to supply me with everything what I'm dreaming of. There's also me who has to do the things properly, to study the manual and to know the things, how they operate and how to utilize the item I buy. And then once I know what is the promise of the company, what they promise me and how they interact with me, can really bring the balance in the interaction. And the balance in the interaction is called the trust. I know what I can get as a return of our interaction. But basically, trust is a very hidden and very deep emotional status that we develop between us and the providers. And definitely, it's the core. But the trick is that the people don't speak about the trust; they live the trust. And this is one of the key messages for the providers. Please, if your customers are not telling you something, it doesn't mean that they are not thinking about it. So do not underestimate those things as a trust in media, in your campaigns and the promotions. Just be fair and do not pretend that you are someone else who you really are. And this is the message.
Wonderful. And just before 30 seconds, you said something which actually turned the tables, because we were discussing about what the companies should be doing to provide a great, memorable customer experience for their customers. And you said something which just turned the tables, that as a customer, we also have some duty towards the organization we are dealing with or interacting with. For instance, you mentioned we don't read the manuals, which is a fact. I mean, how many times did I buy an electronic appliance and I read the manual before starting using it? Interesting. What do you think about the self-service then, coming to the banks and this idea of using artificial intelligence, AI or NLU, natural language understanding, which these chatbots and virtual assistants are using, especially with the banks, I would say, because banks is a very different sector as compared to other products and commodities that we use. And the notion these days is that customers want to self-serve themselves. They don't want to wait for your agent to be responding to them, and they want instant answers. And therefore we have the self-service bots. But are they really successful? I mean, is it worth having a self-service bot in your system? Because as a customer, I personally feel that no, when I am in trouble, I want to be attended by a human and not by a virtual chatbot. So what do we have to think about that there?
I think that every organization has to find the sweet spot or the balance where the self-service is, really a matter of interest of the client and whether there's interest of the companies. Because the customers, they are not naive. And they know that the self-management is just when the bank or the other organization is taking the responsibility towards you. But can you imagine that you are paying with your phone, the cash registers, and suddenly you cannot proceed? What can you do that? And there is the manual that tells you, hey, refresh your application, and then like 25 minutes of refreshing something, and there is no one on the call who can help you or can substitute you. So I think that every organization has to take a very diligent and very deep dive analysis. What type of operations can be really self-managed by the customers, and what type of operations might be reserved for an personal interaction, especially when we are talking about the very intimate data as the money and all the things are connected. I think that having the AI and all those chatbots and VBots and everything, they are I call it a first aid kit. That's not your lifestyle. That's not your well-being program. That's a first aid kit. So once you want to know what is the exchange rate of some the British pound, you can just type, and the Siri or whoever can answer this question. You don't have to call. So these are the things that I think are very, very useful for everyday, very fast lives we live. But once we go into those 5% of tough decisions, we need to have the belief that on the other side is the human being with something what is called empathy. And this is the difference between smart technology and smart people. We love smart people because they have empathy. We love smart technology because they have quality and they have the data. But unfortunately, we are still in a stage of the technological advancement that the technologies, they do not own the empathy. They own the information and they pretend the empathy. But we believe this is not something we would like to live with.
Cool. So this is my takeaway from our discussion, actually, that we have to find a sweet spot, or rather a sweet ecosystem has to be formed in where smart people and smart technology can exist together for all of us to have magical experiences. How does that sound?
It's just brilliant, even better than I would say.
Okay, I just copied your words, that's it. And we together are working on creating magical experiences for the people around. So thank you so much for being with us today, Jan. We learned a great deal.
It was my pleasure. Greetings to all of you. And this my last word is the CX is something that will make your employees and your customers really, really happy. So do it good and better every day.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to CXO with your host, Supriya. I hope you enjoyed a dive into the nitty-gritty of customer experience. If you are committed to applying these ideas in the real world, stay tuned with me. Don't forget to check out all the links and resources in the show notes. That's all for this episode, folks. See you next time.